Norcanair. Norcanair was the name of a Canadian airline that existed from 1947 to 1987, and again briefly in the early 1990s, and from 2001 to 2005. History. Norcanair traces its history back to M&C Aviation, founded in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, in 1930 by private pilots Richmond Mason and Angus Campbell. Moving soon to Prince Albert, this bush flying firm survived the Great Depression by concentrating on carrying prospectors and travelers into Saskatchewan's heavily forested north. When the Second World War broke out, the firm's technical expertise was put to work running an overhaul facility in Prince Albert that maintained aircraft used by the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. M&C Aviation. Richmond Dick Mason owned an aircraft in the late 20s, a Stinson CF-AFF, when he met airframe engineer Angus Campbell, taught him to fly, and they became partners. Their first commercial activity was barnstorming, flying into agricultural fairs in Saskatchewan and taking people for airplane rides for a penny a pound. Their small aircraft could take 3 passengers in addition to the pilot. Fairs were seasonal, usually late August through mid-October, and to keep the business growing they began flying fresh fish from Lac La Ronge and Big River. They incorporated the business as Mason and Campbell Aviation in 1930, also known as M&C, which was originally based in Saskatoon. In 1935 they moved to Prince Albert and set up offices in a building in the downtown area by the river, where they built a dock and installed a fueling station for the float aircraft. They also obtained a hangar at the airport across the river. Dick Mason was the primary businessman, while Angus Campbell was the primary pilot. They built their bush pilot service to include up to 7 aircraft, flying hunters, fishermen, prospectors, miners, and surveyors, and were credited with opening up Saskatchewan's north. Mason had a lake and Campbell an island named after them. Angus Campbell died in May 1943. Post-war, Dick Mason accepted a 1947 offer from the province's new Cooperative Commonwealth Federation CCF government for the sale of the airline. The government's goal was to use aircraft to open the province's vast north. This airline was known as Saskatchewan Government Airways SGA. Structured as a Crown corporation, SGA operated from 1947 to 1965 from a main base at the Prince Albert Glassfield Airport and a number of sub-bases in northern Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's 1964 general election saw the NDP government defeated by the Liberals. SGA was privatized into the hands of some Saskatchewan businessmen who renamed it North Canada Air, or Norcanair for short. The firm operated 2 sets of services for the next 16 years, charter flights in northern Saskatchewan, and a modest series of scheduled routes running north-south in Saskatchewan. Its major equipment included Cessna 180s, Beavers, and Otters. One of its Beavers, aircraft CF-FHB, is preserved in the Canada Aviation Museum in Ottawa, while one of its Model 170 Bristol freighters, Freighter CFWAE, is in the Western Canada Aviation Museum in Winnipeg, Manitoba. For its scheduled routes, it used 5 U.S.-built Fairchild F-27 turboprop aircraft acquired from Hughes Air West in 1976-77. Also flown was a wide array of other turboprop aircraft types, including the de Havilland Canada DHC-6 Twin Otter, Embraer EMB-110 Banderant, and NAC Weiss-11. The only jet aircraft type operated by Norcanair was the Fokker F-28 Fellowship. In 1981, Norcanair President John B. Jack Lloyd announced he was selling the airline back to the provincial government, which by this point was in the hands of the Social Democratic New Democratic Party. A tentative deal was struck, but before it could be finalized, the NDP government fell and its replacement, the Progressive Conservative Party, resold the firm to Saskatoon businessman Albert Ethier, who combined the airline with his own charter firm, Highline Airways. During 1985, a scheduled nonstop passenger route to Minneapolis/St. Paul from Regina was initiated with the Fokker F-28 fellowship jet aircraft. By 1987, Norcanair was feeding passengers to CP Air, and in March of the same year Norcanair was taken over by Time Air. Destinations. According to the October 26, 1986 Norcanair route system map, the airline was operating scheduled passenger service to the following destinations: Alberta, Canada, Canada, Calgary, Edmonton, Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, Canada, La Ronge, Prince Albert, Regina, Saskatoon, Stony Rapids, Uranium City, Wollaston Lake, Minnesota, USA, Minneapolis/St. Paul. Following the acquisition of Norcanair by Time Air in 1987, scheduled passenger service to all of the above destinations continued to be provided by Time Air. Fleet. Beechcraft Model 18, BP-5, a Canso version of the PBY Catalina amphibious aircraft. Bristol Freighter Type 170, Cessna 180, de Havilland Canada D8, C-2 Beaver, de Havilland Canada D8, C-3 Otter, Otter, de Havilland Canada D8, C-6 Twin Otter, Douglas D C-3, Embraer EMB-110 Banderat, Fairchild F-27, Fokker F-28 fellowship-only jet aircraft type operated by Norcanair, NAC Weiss-11,